Marquette punked Kansas. It is what it is. 73-59 is the final score. Hunter Dickinson, 13-8, a very quiet Hunter Dickinson night. But I don't know what Kansas is supposed to do, to be honest. Kevin McCullough had another great game. DeJuan Harris had 8 shot attempts because somebody had to shoot. And outside of the big three for the Jayhawks, they got nothing from anyone. That's how I feel right now. We just saw a much more complete team in Marquette beat a team that has a lot of work to do to figure out how to be a complete team. That was my read on this game. What did you see?
See a team that flat out cannot shoot. They can't shoot. They can't shoot, and you're surrounding yourself around Hunter Dickinson. If we know anything, Gregory, if you know anything, the recipe for success is not surrounding Hunter Dickinson with non-shooters. It just does not work. Now, I've always been in the court of it's Bill Self. He'll figure it out. Bill Self's one of the greats of all time. He might, but him figuring it out is based on guys knocking down shots. And right now, they don't have anybody outside of Kevin McCullough who can knock down shots. Johnny Furphy, not knocking down shots. You brought in Nick Timberlake. He's not knocking down shots, and he's hurting you on the defensive end. Like, he's a complete negative when he's out there right now, and he's shooting the ball like a player whose confidence is absolutely shot, and that his team doesn't trust him or believe in him, and they need him massively. So they don't have any shooters right now around him and around Hunter Dickinson, I mean. So on a game-to-game basis, like, you might get a great Hunter game and you might get a great Kevin McCullough game, and that might not be good enough to get it done. So if I'm a Kansas fan, I'm really concerned because your season as of right now, in my eyes, and like what levels you want to reach and being the number one team in the country and cutting down nets and banners and things like that is on the shoulders of if guys like Nick Timberlake, Johnny Furphy, Elmarko Jackson, and McDowell can knock down shots. And right now, none of them can.
I disagree that they can't shoot. I thought they shot okay last night, and on the season, they're 12th in the country in three-point percentage. So, like, I hear what you're saying, and I think you're like,
wait, you thought they shot well last night?
35% as a team.
Take out McCullough.
Still close to 35% as a team. Like, Johnny
Furphy did knock down some late.
Okay, I think they cracked about 30% without McCullough, but it would be 4 for 13 from 3. Yeah, it's not great. I think the attempts are the larger problem, right? Like, they're making some shots. They're not attempting enough shots to create space for Hunter Dickinson. That's my issue. Furphy hit a 3 in this game. McDowell hit a 3 in this game. Timberlake hit a 3 in this game. They all only played 12 minutes or less. Dickinson hit 1. McCullough hit 2. The other starters didn't. Yeah, I don't like playing Dickinson next to Adams because Adams is a non-threat. I don't like Harris at point with him because Harris just really never wants to shoot the ball. And right now there's a huge hole at the 2. Elmarko Jackson's not giving him enough. He's not ready right now. Maybe he will be by March. But that's just my only pushback. Like, they're 12th in the country on the season for three-point percentage. Like,
that's shocking. That's shocking to me.
But I think that's what makes it scarier is I think they are shooting the ball well and they look like they still have these problems. You know what I mean? Like, if Kansas was actually shooting like 20% from 3, like a team like Gonzaga and UCLA are right now, then they lose the Kentucky game and they lose by 30 to Marquette. So I think like there's a little bit of like wolf in sheep's clothing here right now, or sheep in wolf's clothing with Kansas. Like, I think there are problems here that are kind of being covered up by the fact that they have made some shots that we don't believe they're going to make long term. And I would be really, really concerned as a Kansas fan because you're right. The bottom line is whether it's shooting or not shooting, right now they have 3 players. They have 3 good players. And you go up and down the list. KJ Adams is fine, but again, it's clunky with Dickinson, and he's not giving you a lot of production right now. Elmarko Jackson is not ready. Johnny Furphy, I think, looks the best of the bench guys. He can only play about 10, 15 minutes right now and is kind of clueless out there. McDowell and Timberlake are just bad. They're just bad players as far as like Big 12 ready number 1 team in the country expectations. Timberlake is one of the biggest misses from this entire transfer portal thing. And we said it at the time. We didn't like his game. Everybody knows that I'm anti-up transfer, but he's just not good. I just don't see it. And I think right now he's kind of scared of his own shadow. And you're right. He gives you nothing defensively. So, man, it's the again, I feel like I'm an expert in this. I can't believe Hunter Dickinson chose to spend this season on a team that has the same issues as a roster construction that killed his teams at Michigan. The issue at Michigan was never talent. It was they tried to play him with fours who can't shoot, and they only had 3 or 4 good players, depending on if Doug McDaniel was good that night. They were playing 3-on-5 for much of the season with a 4 that can't shoot. And no matter how good Hunter and Kobe and Jet were, it wasn't enough when they played good teams. That's how I feel like Kevin McCullough is like giving them triple doubles. And this team's still strong. Like
Kevin McCullough is playing like the Big 12 player of the year right now.
Dude, this team was in a dogfight trailing the whole game to a Kentucky team full of 18-year-old kids that just needed overtime to beat St. Joseph's. Red flag, dude. Huge blue and red flag right now. And I feel for Hunter sickly. Like, I know I make jokes like he's my ex and all that, but like, I kind of feel bad for, like, I wanted to see Hunter in a fresh situation. And I don't think this is a fresh situation. I think their floor is way higher than Michigan was. Like, they're not going to miss the tournament, and they're going to win a bunch of games in the Big 12 because Bill Self's a genius. And at the end of the day, these 3 guys are good enough to beat a bunch of bad teams. But I think you're going to see a lot more 14-point losses where they're trailing the whole game than anybody's ready for. And we never see that with Kansas. This is like the loss to Marquette is a loss that doesn't happen often for Kansas. I think this year it's going to happen all the time in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think it's also not just a loss because if I'm Kansas, I think there's no shame in losing to Marquette. I think Marquette's really good. It's the way they lost the basketball game. They weren't really in it. They were never in that basketball game from the tip. From the tip of that basketball game, I never believed for 1 second that Kansas could win that game. Like, I think they got outplayed all 40 minutes in my opinion. Yes, did they make runs? Yes, did they try to get themselves going? Yeah, but at the same time, they never – I don't think Marquette was ever out of control of this basketball game. And it showed in the shots that Kansas got. I thought their shot selection was I don't know what word to put on it, and that was credit to Marquette's defense, but also at the same time, I don't think they were making the best decisions. There was turnovers. It was a very, very bad showing for Kansas in that setting.
Yeah, Marquette's really, really good. We talked about that. We just previewed Marquette and Purdue. You can go watch that on the channel. They're really, really good. But it's so many, like, Hunter's going to struggle anytime he plays teams that are smart enough to put him in ball screen coverage situations. And Marquette just was attacking that over and over and over again. He had no answer. He's not good at that. It's the one thing Hunter can't do. And he's good enough offensively that you have to build your whole team around Hunter. But there are limitations to building a team around Hunter. It just is what it is. It's true. And when they play teams that want to do what Marquette did to them offensively, like, he's going to struggle all season long. And then that compounds into what he does offensively. Because when Hunter starts to get frustrated defensively and the team falls behind, he starts trying to make these whip around skip passes to the corner that he's throwing into the third row. The body language gets bad. Like, it's just, I've seen that exact loss 40 times in the last 2 seasons. And I think Kansas people just discovered it for the first time, but there are limitations to trying to do what Bill Self's trying to do with Hunter. DeJuan Harris and Tyler Kolek, some would say battle of the 2 best point guards in the country. I would say what a heated battle it was. It was a race to 7 points or 6 points, 4 and 4 for Tyler Kolek, 6, 4 and 4. And he outplayed DeJuan Harris, who had 4, 3 and 3. I mean, these guys, stat sheet stuffers. Cart. I thought both were pretty horrendous in this game. What'd you think of the point guard game?
Well, they doubled up Lance Jones' stat line, but yeah, I thought it was going to be way more of an epic. I thought it was going to be way more of like an epic battle, and it just really wasn't. But at the same time, Kolek controlled the whole game. Like, he controlled everything, even though his stats weren't showing up. For all the people who, love to just watch and not look at box scores. Tyler Kolek controlled that basketball game. DeJuan Harris could not get control of the basketball game. He didn't do anything as far as being a floor general or running his team or settling them down. I think that Kolek did a great job of controlling the game despite the stat line. So disappointing to see, just because it's the same thing with DeJuan Harris that we've been saying like his whole career. Like, he just has that ability to do things, but he just picks and chooses when to do it and be aggressive. And I get it. I know people like strike back and they're like, oh, DeJuan Harris, he knows what to do. Like, oh, they're going under screen, so now he's going to shoot. why don't you just be aggressive and shoot it no matter what? Especially looking around, if I'm DeJuan Harris, I have to be the third guy on this team. Like I gotta be. I have to be the third guy next to McCullough and Dickinson. So I can't have these just 6-4-4 games and chalk it up, especially 6-4-4 in a loss, because that means you didn't even go down swinging in my eyes. So it's disappointing because I think so highly of DeJuan Harris.
Yeah, I just think he needs to be way better. And if there's one guy you're going to point to that like has to step up, obviously it's the bench guys, but DeJuan has to transform his game into a guy that scores for this team. He has to.
And
And
he can too. That's the frustrating part. He can do that.
yeah, that's the thing. We thought it would take a little bit of an adjustment. This is just way worse, I think, than we expected to start the season. So, yeah, the game was played on Tyler Kolek's terms. Even if this wasn't the best Kolek game, he was the one dictating the action, the tempo, all of it. DeJuan Harris felt like he was trying to keep up, and you don't normally see that with DeJuan. So, really interesting stuff. You're basically all in on Marquette. Anytime we're talking about them right now, you're like, this team, Final Four team, maybe more. Like, you love this team. You think they're great. I want to wrap this just by asking you what your same expectations are for Kansas. Like, if you think the ceiling is title for Marquette, where does this Kansas team season end?
When I close my eyes and I envision how their season goes down and how it ends, it looks like a first weekend loss to me.
I feel the same. It's
a first weekend
weird.
loss, and that's with a great, like, and I'm talking about a first weekend loss where you have a great performance from Hunter and McCullough, and you have an okay performance, maybe not even okay, from DeJuan Harris, and they lose the basketball game.
Yeah. It's weird to feel that way about a Bill Self team, but I definitely agree. I think this is one of those years where they like desperately need to be a 1 seed, and it could happen. It's
Yes.
Bill Self, right? If they're a
They
1
need
seed, they got an easy 16 game and they get an 8 seed, then I'm like, okay, Sweet 16 team. If they're a 4 seed and they're catching the wrong 13 seed in round 1,
or I mean, yeah, that, or even if they're a 2 seed and they win that first game and they run into a 7 seed in the next round,
yeah,
like,
there's a lot of, like, when you're an underdog Cinderella type team, you know, like, you're kind of looking at who are the seed line potential matchups, and you're like, okay, we're gonna get Kansas or Purdue or I don't know, whoever else at the top, Arizona, UConn. To me, like, whoever the Cinderella is this year is going to circle Kansas. Like, I want Kansas. And it feels crazy to say that about Bill Self, but I think it's critical this team has a really good regular season. And I think we should wrap by just saying, like, look, it's not the end of the world. I know we're doom and gloom right now. It's not the end of the world that you lose to Marquette. Marquette's a great team, 4th in the country right now, probably going to be higher at the end of this. The red flag is the way it happened to me.
yes.
This wasn't a close game that Kansas was in that snowballed late. Kansas was never in this game. From 4 minutes into the game on, Kansas was getting destroyed. And that's scary because on paper, I don't think that should happen to this Kansas team. So we'll see.
Yep.
Good luck, Kansas. We'll see how you regroup.